So apparently the Justin Shire episode didn't upload properly. I'm really sorry about that, guys, but I'm going to make it up to you. We've got like an hour left of podcast. We're going to put it out today. We'll call it part 2. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Thanks, Dusty. All right, guys, let's get to the show. No, we never heard that story. We never heard that story.
All I remember was his buddy. He had a buddy with him too. Didn't he have a friend? And his friend went, "Oh,
yeah." You know? Everybody did that. It's like it was fucking classic.
Good stuff. I forgot about that. That's hysterical.
Yeah. Brings us back to our earlier discussion about the Arnold bathrooms, which is perfect. It ties right in with what people know of me from the show.
Yes.
Yep.
Actually, I just remembered
holding your breath and rushing out of there, and
yes,
it didn't matter who was in the way. You were getting out of that fucking bathroom.
Most people open doors with their hands. Ron with his foot.
Just blew it open.
Yeah.
We did have some business to attend to still. I forgot. I told this guy that we would do a physique critique for him, and he's getting ready for Universe in 5 days now. So
my favorite part about the physique critiques is that it reminds me of all the physique critiques I've been sent that I forgot to bring up on the show.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I told him. I was like, listen, he asked me the other day, and I was like, listen, if you can email it to me on Monday, we record on Monday, and then also email me again later in the morning so that I won't forget.
So you made him earn this. He actually worked for this.
Yes. So this is Chris.
So wait. Okay.
Let's see here. I'm going to grab a couple shots here. And like I said, he's
I got him on my cigars. That's Chris Palmer.
Yes.
Yes. Looks good.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he looks great.
I got a couple more here. I'll throw up a front shot and a back shot to begin with. And this is at 5 days out. Good shape overall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He might be going up against one of my clients, actually.
Nice.
Depending on he's 5'11", so he might be he might be going up against one of my clients now that I look at this.
Nice.
So anybody
tell him what to do with his water, Scott. Go ahead.
You're gonna want to just keep drinking a lot of water.
No sodium.
Actually, cut your water
sodium.
out now. Cut your water out now.
Yeah.
You know,
Cut your sodium. Switch to distilled.
Yeah.
Massive changes.
All those things. A lot of changes. You're gonna need, bud.
Oh man.
Yeah. He looks great. There's nothing like the lower back. Look at the tie-ins down there with the erectors, and he's got the full seashells with the, my friend used to call them the seashells with the lower back and everything all cased out.
Yeah.
And the glutes are in, and I mean, I wouldn't screw around with that too much at all.
No.
He's really symmetrical too. Nothing's overpowering. I think he looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big lesson, I think, especially with a set of pictures like this, when anyone asks, is like, when you look this good, the only advice I have is don't start trying to change everything. Just if you came in more or less like this and dried out a hair, you'll be fine. Like Chris always says, don't shoot for 100% and miss. Come in right around 90, 95% is probably enough to beat everybody.
Well, also, I feel like there's just so many people that screw up everything that you just don't be one of those people. I mean,
cruise in.
How early are these pictures? Are these fresh out of bed, or are these like 5 meals in? Do we know?
He doesn't say. I'm going to guess I would assume they're his morning check-in.
Yeah,
pictures.
I would too.
Because I mean, this is a great way. If he's predictably waking up looking like this every morning, I mean,
he just looks like if you pull a little bit of water, and you're going to be pretty crispy, buddy.
Yep.
He says
absolutely.
5 days out, classic physique, C, 5'11", 5'11" and 1/8. So right now he's 209.3 today. He says this is the lowest weight of the prep. He said we pushed hard this prep, was in 90-minute cardio a day and tracked 13,000 to 14,000 steps to push the weight down from 10 weeks out. We began to pull back cardio last Friday to recover. Carbs have been pretty low. Minimal refeeds as it took a lot to get me flat.
Well, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad when somebody sends like this. You're like, cool, you look great. Anyways, moving on. I mean,
I feel like if I was going to give him something that is productive, I would say that I would raise his elbows a little bit in both
Okay.
of those shots, because
Yep.
I
gonna
always
say the
feel
same
like
thing.
your biceps should be as high as your front delts at least.
Yeah.
So if he raises his arms a bit and gets his biceps up level with his front delts, I think he'll look better in both of those shots.
I would also bring the fist in a little closer to the head and close that gap.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah.
the
You know,
Arms down a
I mean,
little, yeah.
these are very subtle differences, but I feel like, you know, when especially you got a shorter bicep insertion, you can close that gap with your forearm a little bit, and then you bring the fist in closer to the head. Everything looks a little tighter, more compact.
Yeah. But I wouldn't raise the shoulders. So some guys, when they go to raise their elbows, they also raise their shoulders. You don't want that because you want the lats nice and thick. So the shoulders should stay where they are. Just the elbows got to go up a little.
Come on.
I think, but that's just being constructive.
Agree.
Yeah.
All right. Got a few for rapid fire then. Do deadlifts grow the waist?
Yeah, Justin's waist is terrible. It's a mess.
I mean, listen, I've deadlifted, I've pulled every single week for the last 4 years, sometimes twice a week, and my waist is pretty small. So I don't think so. I mean, ask Michael Hearn.
Yeah.
Well, he's different. It's natural.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All right.
I think,
Couldn't help
yeah.
myself.
Do you all
think-
agree? Oh, go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
I think massive overeating and large amounts of insulin and GH are probably what contribute to wastes, but it needs to be multifaceted. It's not just one thing. It has to be like chasing scale weight is what blows the waist out over time.
Yeah.
I know that
I think it's
my waist, I always had a tiny waist. Everyone was always like, oh, your waist is so tiny. And I always found it super easy to control. And then the year I worked with Chad Nichols and we pushed my body weight to 330, when I dieted down that year, I noticed that my midsection felt different. I had to control it more. It felt a little bit more difficult to control. And I was like, oh shit, I think I did a little bit of damage. And I was always cautious after that. I never got as heavy as that again. And so I kind of felt like from experience, you know, when I was deadlifting, you know, and squatting, like, I mean, I squatted my heaviest weights 10 years before that and my waist didn't grow. But it was blowing my body weight up as big as I could, using a lot of insulin and getting as heavy as I could that made my waist get bigger and more difficult to control.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think for the most part, it's like guys who are just spending long periods of time distended and bloated, and then not understanding that what they're eating is causing this distension and doing nothing about it. You know, eating trigger foods that are fucking bloating the piss out of you, but you just disregard it because it's the off season. But then you go 6 months like that, and you realize that your waist has gone to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Overrated, underrated, over the ear headphones.
Overrated.
I'll say overrated.
Yep.
Yeah. They're awkward in the gym.
Yeah.
You go to do you go do pull downs and your shoulders hit them and push them off, and you bend over something and they fall off, and they're overrated.
If I'm on the hex
So I would-
squat, my ears, like I can't get out of the, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
The
yeah,
thing's
yeah.
right there and it just pulls them off my head every time.
I'll say
way
in contest prep in a public gym when you're the owner, they're underrated.
Yeah, different reasoning. Yeah,
They're
Waste some
also underrated if you're doing like a lot of video editing, because the on the ear, they like sometimes I have my headphones on for like 5-6 hours at a time.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they start
yeah.
putting pressure, so it's nice to have
Yeah.
the over the ear, so it's not actually pressing on the ear.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
program is brought to you by Bose, by the way, guys. Use code.
There you go.
Should
Gear question. Does Justin still ride BMX?
No.
Do you still? Here's a question. Do you still own a BMX? Like, do you have a frame
I
hanging
do.
up somewhere? Yeah.
Yeah, so in my garage, I still have I have a full bike hanging. Yeah, it's pristine.
Yeah.
So,
You're gonna
Is
do
it
got
the
that
flat
bike you
tires
used to
because
when you
ride?
retire.
Yep.
Is it the
Yeah.
bike? So it's got some wear and tear on it. It's got some battle scars on it and everything.
The pegs are all grinded down. The pedals are fucked up. Tires are a little worn on one side. Yep.
Nice. I like that. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll need.
So I
that
still
when you
have it. I
retire.
mean,
ask Ryan.
I've thought about pumping the tires up and just like trying to go do a hang five in the driveway to see if I still got it.
Right.
But I can hardly walk down the steps in front of my house without feeling like I'm going to fall over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Ron, it's such a fucking, you cannot be clumsy and go.
No, and like
ride BMX.
from a guy who's trying to learn hang fives, they're scary because at my age and my size, I don't like going over the bars, man.
Yeah,
What's
you
a
need to be
hang
able to hit
five?
that eject button and go over the bars gracefully.
Yeah, you got to be able to. A hang five is when you are rolling forwards on the front wheel with your foot on the front peg and your other leg is out balancing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like a real foundational flatland move. And then street guys like Justin also did. It's one of the crossover tricks that street guys also do because they'll pop out of the bowl and they'll land on their front wheel and they'll hang five around the bowl and then they'll drop back in. So it's like a foundational trick that crosses over to street and flatland, but it's a very foundational flatland front wheel trick. And I'm trying like fuck to learn them. Every time I go out, I do like 20 or 30 hang five attempts. And my best hang five right now is like 7 or 8 feet because it's just like hard to stay on that front wheel. And you got to be able to eject over the bars because
that's the problem. The
Yeah.
point, the balance point of the hang five is right before you flip over in your face.
yeah.
So you got to really nail
That's where you're
it right
supposed
here.
to be.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you play it
Yeah,
safe, you just wind up going up for a split second and back down on your seat.
Right back down.
Up, back down on your seat. You'll do that like 200 times, and then you'll get one where you roll for like 2 feet, and then you have to ditch the bars and jump over the bars.
Oh god.
And it's scary. It's scary, man. And I get nervous every time I practice them.
I mean, I used to have no problem. You just shoot the bars down and you get bow-legged and jump over the bars. But now I'm going to get tangled and I'm going to hit the concrete.
Yeah, I've slammed a few times. I wear elbow pads now when I practice them, and and I wear wrist straps, and I do the wrist straps up real tight because if you hit the ground,
Oh yeah.
So
Here's
right.
my
What
here's
about
my
smoked
here's my
paprika?
cat, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
oh my goodness,
There
She's
we
a little
are.
fluff ball.
She's adorable. What's her name?
Iggy, like Iggy Azalea. We got
Love it.
Fergie and Iggy, 2 cats. She
Fergie
kind of
is
looks like
actually-
Iggy.
I'm just trying to make sure we clean up all the real important questions here. Do you guys
Good.
know anything about smoked paprika?
Yeah, I use it frequently.
Yeah. What do you? Is it overrated or underrated? Was the question.
I think it's underrated.
what do you put it on? Chicken?
Fish, chicken,
Yeah?
veggies.
I don't know if I've had it. I don't know it.
I never even heard of
Smoked
it.
paprika
I know
is good.
about
Yeah,
paprika.
smoked paprika is super good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just a smoky version of it.
Okay.
It's kind of got like a really like barbecue smoky flavor. It's super good.
Yeah.
Like contest prep, I'm hammering that on my fish.
What about we had this one. Do you remember, Dusty? We're supposed to call Ron out. I forgot about that.
Oh, I mean, I like to call him out all the time.
Oh yeah, we got to call Ron out. Big
Oh
Ron,
yeah.
how were you 13 in 1989 if you did your first show in 1997 when you were supposedly 17?
Supposedly, you lying whore.
Well,
Sorry.
the answer. So I can understand why this guy's confused because
Math.
typically, so
tough,
my
Dusty.
first show technically was in '93 when I was 17, but it was a local gym promoted show in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and it wasn't sanctioned, so it had nothing to do with like the CBBF or the NPC or like it was like a non-show that was like unofficial. It was just the local gym had a bodybuilding contest. That's how the old days were. Sometimes there would just be a show that like had nothing to do with anything else. And there was only like 25 people entered it. It was basically a bunch of guys from the gym entered it, and then a couple of guys from small northern Alberta towns came in to compete. And I did that when I was 17, and then so I usually say my first show was the 97 Northerns when I was 21 because that was an actual show. You know, there were judges that were actually judges. You know,
Right.
they had the sport coats with the logos and they had actual official judging, you know, like it was an actual show.
Yeah.
So my first
Right.
show was the 97 Northerns when I was 21, but I actually did a non-sanctioned show that didn't count for anything. It was just like a local fun show when I was 17. So I dyed it for that for like 10 weeks and put Pro-Tan on and did the whole thing. And yeah.
Where did they hold that at? Was it still at like a regular venue, or what do they do?
Yeah, it was at a theater. It was at the local like theater where they used to hold like plays and stuff in Grand Prairie. Yeah. So it was like cool. There's a couple hundred people there. Like it was like an event in town because like Grand Prairie, Alberta, back in '93, there's not a lot going on. Go watch the local high school football game.
Do you have the names of anyone that's there? Because I'm pretty sure this guy's going to want to fact check you. He seems pretty heated about this. This dude is pissed. I'm going to need 3 people that were there and a photo, or else you're a liar.
I do have photos. I've posted photos of it before.
Have you?
I've posted some photos. Yeah, I've posted photos.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I just love that it was. I laughed so hard when I saw it because I'm like, I see Ron as much as anyone that does not work in his gym. And I'm like, I didn't know this lie of his. This is fancy. He pulled it right over on me.
Exactly. For everybody.
I unfollowed him on Instagram immediately. I'm like, I'm done with this.
That's funny. That's funny.
All right. I think I covered the most important stuff, Ron. I think we got everything that was important out of the way here.
Good. Now we can get on to the nonsense.
Okay.
Like bodybuilding and greatness.
Yeah. You had a whole bunch of questions, though, didn't you, Scott? Like there was like 10 sheets.
Yeah, we'll see if there's anything that you thought would be. I saw some.
I'm rolling through them right
questions.
now.
I like this one.
Yeah,
I like this one. It said vitamin shots, overrated or underrated? Like all the IV drips and the going for vitamin shots and all that stuff. What do you guys think about that? Justin's breathing. Okay. Justin's sighing. Justin's huffing and puffing. And sighing.
I don't know. It's hard for me to have an answer on this. If it was something that you have like this acute response and you immediately go, well, there you go, that was worth it. But, right. It's one of those things that you do and you go, I think that did something.
Yeah. Like it felt expensive and good.
I just took $100. I just injected $100.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
It had to be worth something. I will say like a glutathione push, that's super valuable, especially for people competing, post-contest prep. Do it. Maybe that's underrated. I don't know.
I've never had that. What do you notice? What do you think?
I mean, just like, liver toxicity and, anything we can do to kind of aid our body coming out of a contest prep. It's something that Matt always has me do post-show, and I have my guys do it.
Okay.
I did a Myers cocktail, and don't even know what that is. Just look it up. Shut up. And then I also did. I want to say like it was an obscene amount, like 3 grams of. I can't even think what it was. But basically, long story short, I did this like 3 weeks out of a show one time. That's all the time. And I will say it was the first thing I've ever done where the next day I was like, oh. I feel drastically like I was dragging. It was just one of those preps where you're like, I'll be fine, but every day, for every hour for the next 3 weeks is going to suck. And then my buddy Jake was like, hey, I'm having somebody come out to the show because he was competing shortly after. He's like, we're going to be where this lady is. I'm going to have her come and load you up. And I was like, all right, go ahead. And literally the next day I was like, I don't know what she just did, but that was amazing. And I only ever did them. I did that twice in my entire career, where I was really smoked, and both times it worked phenomenally. So, but outside of that, I do think that there's so many things people could do that are more important when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like when you say overrated, underrated, I'm thinking about general people, and I'm like, your diet and so many other things are so shit, and you're like, oh, let's go spend $130 on a IV. I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about not eating complete dog shit and maybe walking?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one that's actually the main point of that is when there's a lot of things that might make a difference on paper, but if your basic foundational factors are a mess, then they won't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, it's for the people that don't want to change habits. When you're talking about habitually eating poor food, being, habitually just sitting on the couch and hanging out, not moving, not exercising, but you can go and you can inject yourself with this shot that makes you feel like you're doing something beneficial for your health, but your day-to-day is actually the detriment. In that case, yes, absolutely overrated. It's not overrated. It's like a 10-minute walk after you eat a meal.
Yeah.
You know, daily exercise, weightlifting, that's not underrated.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
strength training.
Here's a good one. Pre-workout nap or post-workout nap?
Oh yeah, I did see that one. That's a good one.
I've always been a pre-workout nap guy.
Me too.
I've done plenty of 10-minute naps in the parking lot in my truck.
Yeah,
Absolutely. My favorite is you take your pre-workout and then you immediately go out, because I can spontaneously fall asleep almost anywhere.
Me
That's
too.
a skill I have.
Yeah.
So I would take my pre-workout, and within 2 minutes I can be asleep. And then I set a timer for like 20 or 25 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
But
Yeah, just
usually
good.
my pre-workout usually wakes me up. Like, it's so funny how your body gets it, tuned in. You wake up, you look at your phone, you got a minute left on the timer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, that's my favorite.
Your
I
heart
did the
rate's
exact same.
slightly jacked from all the caffeine.
Yeah.
You're ready to go now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my routine for years. I used to eat my second meal of the day. I would immediately go lay down, 20-minute nap. I just set an alarm for 21 minutes because my dogs needed to fight for about a minute before they would settle in. 20 minutes, wake up, jump in the shower, and then walk out the door. And it was a 25-minute drive to the gym, so I would drink my pre in the car. Never failed. And I don't know about you guys, but Nikki cannot fathom that 20 minutes is a perfect nap for me. Like, it takes her 20 minutes to get to sleep. So, like, if the other day she was like, I'm going to take a nap with you. I'm like, fine, I'm setting an alarm for 20 minutes. So I set the alarm. I wake up at 19 minutes, turn my alarm off, get up and walk out. And 40 minutes later, she walks downstairs. She's like, I feel great. I'm like, cool. I've been down here for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
anything over 20 minutes to me is not a nap. That's a sleep. And now I have to commit. Now I'm just going in for 7 hours.
Oh, I like a 30. I like a 30-minute nap. That I really do. I'm gonna admit that.
It's your sweet spot. It's important to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Oh,
I had another one here. Some of these were funny, Scott. I liked these ones you sent.
What'd you find that you like? Because I figured I wouldn't be able to get through all of them, so I just had picked through.
Well, the
a
one.
handful there.
Can you take Anavar rectally?
Oh yeah,
I like
yeah,
that. Just never know.
yeah. You could, I guess.
Well,
It'd be
what if
real
you
strong.
could? Can you?
Oh
Would it
yeah,
absorb through the membrane?
I
Yeah,
think so. I
yeah.
think it'd probably be real strong that way. I mean, I'm not going to recommend it, but
I heard the
do a lot
deeper
of
you
things.
push it, the better it works. I mean, if we're going to do this, commit to it, buddy. Let's see this get done.
yeah,
Let's see.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Here's a good one I think actually that people might be interested in hearing you guys' take on is what makes a company a good or bad sponsor?
oh yeah, that's a good one too.
You don't have to use
mean, go
name
ahead.
anybody.
You guys have been with Mutant for fucking ever. I feel like they've taken really good care of you guys. So I feel like you have a unique.
Well, the biggest thing that I
perspective here.
love with Mutant is Jim is obsessed with us just being who we are. Like,
Yeah.
well,
does
I'll
that.
say things that, like, I mean, there's been times that my mother would be watching something. She's like, "Did you just say Satan semen on a show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "They don't mind." I'm like, "No, they think it's funny." And he
Yeah.
also will tell you, like, he's brought a few products out, and he was like, "What do you think of this?" I'm like, "I'll never use it." He goes, "Well, don't mention it then." Like, there's no connection at all with, like, I that's one thing that I love. There's zero. My previous sponsor, I would occasionally, this is back in the magazine days, but I'd see a quote next to a product. I'm like, I never said that, and that bothered me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the magazine days.
at least ask me. Like, I will give you a quote, but don't make
Yeah.
one. That bugs me. So I think that's huge. And then also loyalty in both directions. I feel like that's a tricky spot for a lot of people. Like, companies and athletes very often want loyalty, but don't want to give it. You know what I mean? So, and that could be spun in a lot of different ways, but it really comes down. I mean, I was getting, wasn't even when I was with Mutant, but I had a 1-year deal with Condemned in between. And when I was in a coma, when I woke up, my check was in the account. I mean, like, they didn't pause. Nothing happened. I come up, I see emails, texts, everything's fine. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh. And I mean, I was on a 1-year deal and maybe 4 or 5 months into it. Like, I could have totally understood if they were like, he may not wake up. Let's hold on to that. He didn't do his month's worth of work here. Like, so,
Yeah.
I mean, and people, that sounds crazy, but there are companies that would do that. They're like, you didn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like Jim has, I mean, I see the emails that come in for my code. It's nice to know that people use the code. And obviously the podcast helps a lot with people using our codes. Like, you know, it helps. But I have never once, I've been with Mutant for, well, since 2011. So like 13 years. I have never once had a conversation with Jim about my code. Like it's like, it's not why I'm there.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's nice. Cause I hear other people say, they're like, oh yeah, I got an email from my sponsor today. Like, I'm not using my code enough. You know, I don't want to get dropped. My code, you know, I only got 50 sales on my code last month and the other guys are getting 100 and I'm really worried I'm going to get dropped. And I'm like, didn't you do really well at your show? Like you,
Yeah.
you're, I like your content. You seem like a good guy. You're likable. People like you. You know, there's more to it. I think sometimes some of the companies, maybe they're being run by kind of suits and ties that come from marketing backgrounds.
Yes. Yeah.
And they don't really think any, they're just looking at like, you know, bar graphs and they're like, oh, this guy's code is low, send him an email. And they're like, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Like you just sent an email to like the most likable guy on the whole team, you know, but so sometimes I think that happens. Yeah.
I think Mutant's done a good job of making Mutant about the athletes. And it, you know, obviously he doesn't care how much you guys are converting, which is good. But like, you know, when I think of Mutant, I think of you guys. I always have. I thought of Rich Piana, you know, I thought of the athletes, you know, you guys, it's like, that's what kind of creates the vibe and the energy of the whole brand. You know, I think of Sean Clarita. I think of, you know, I think of I think of the faces and like the interactions I've had with you guys at the booth. I think about the content you put out. I think about this podcast. And if you can see past the numbers and see the value that all brings, then
Yeah.
That's
you know,
pretty cool.
really, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of goes, I mean, it's too like, I mean, you look awful good in those HD shirts. I got to say.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You do a good job, you know? And,
Well, you know, I'll say like I do a decent job converting. My sales are good, but like they're not you know forcing me to like post pictures of me holding their pre-workout out of the camera like this and like you know it's like I'm there. I'm wearing the brand. They see me in the gym training. That's really my day to day is my training, and I'm promoting by wearing the t-shirts, and that's really enough for them. I will post on my stories about me using the products. I occasionally make a product post, but I never get a phone call saying, hey man, I need you to like, you know, do these cheesy posts where you're sitting in a squat rack holding the fucking pre-workout, like making a mean face towards the camera. Like that's just not me.
yeah.
So I've never felt like I had to do any type of marketing that wasn't, you know, that was disingenuous, anything that didn't feel like myself. So I've just been able to be completely myself, promote organically how I feel like I need to promote. Bye. I'll see you in about an hour or so.
Okay.
See you, baby.
And, he said, Ron says bye.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
know what you mean.
Yeah, and I've never, you guys know, I mean, like it's a different era. Like you know, you know, in the gym pictures with the protein powder next to the squat rack while you're sitting there with 7 plates in the bar that are all fake. That's just, that's not how it is anymore. And I've never felt like I've had to produce anything cheesy like that. I've just been able to, you know, organically promote and be myself, wear the products, speak on the products, and that's it.
Well, you're like, to me, when I look at you as an athlete, I think, oh, wow, like this is an interesting guy. This is an entrepreneur. He's a cannabis farmer.
Yeah.
Who's a bodybuilder. Who, like, you know, when you think of like how many of you are there, there are 0.
How many? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say
Right?
so. Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah.
so it kind of goes into like some of the conversations I have with Jim. Like Jim will say, hey man, when do we get to see another guitar post? And I'm like, oh, you want to see another guitar post? Like, and he's like, yeah. When are you going to get on there with the bass again and hammer out on, you know? And I'm like, oh, I haven't done one I never thought to do one for a while. And he's like, yeah, I want to see another one of those. And
he's not asking
Jim
about the
Biggs-
ISO surge post.
Yeah, he's not asking about the ISO search post. He's asking about
That's great.
You know, I want to see another base post or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I post a trick on my bike, Jim's usually like the first guy to send me a message. Like, you know,
awesome.
And his son's a hardcore skater who's like pretty good. And so he gets it, you know. And I know, like, the same with Dusty. Like, you probably get more comments from Jim on your cigar in the pool post than you do when you.
It's not the cigar.
We've been through this. We went over this earlier.
Yeah, the message just says nice.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. Which one?
Yeah, definitely. So that's to me is what when a company can see the value in you being unique. And and you know, just think of all the people. Let's think of all the guys out there that work a blue collar job and run their own business and all that stuff, and they're going to relate to you because they know that you know what it's like to you have to put up with nonsense government regulation and have to handle bullshit with, you know, the weather affecting your crops, and you know what I mean, like
for sure.
It's and that's, I think, where those that data is not measurable. You don't have a bar graph for that.
It's pretty difficult to quantify how like a demographic's gonna relate to you. But like you're saying, I've never felt like they were trying to force me into any little box. I was like, I'm able to be my own thing, my own person, promote how I want to promote, and I'm left alone.
Yeah.
They're seeing that change. I'm rolling through here. Here's actually a good simple one. Best way to get in your calories in a busy work schedule with minimal breaks. Then he wrote foreman life. I'm assuming like foreman of a job, not like George Foreman.
Yeah.
I get it.
He works at the George Foreman Grill Factory.
Yeah, well, they need to really put a timer on that thing. Anyways, so how do you guys handle that? I mean, I know how I did it back in the day, but you know, with bodybuilding, how did you work out scheduling?
Well, I guess I'll jump in here. Let's just say you're talking about a 8-hour workday. Maybe this guy's working more, but you're going to get up in the morning. You can have a big breakfast, nail down your first meal, go to work, have your lunch break, nail a meal, get off work, go to the gym, right? Let's say it's a 9 to 5. There you go. You've had 3 meals by 5 p.m., 6 p.m. you're training, 7 p.m. you're home. Now between 7 when you go to bed at 10 p.m., you got to get 2 more meals in. Pretty doable. And there you go.
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of guys that are like, oh, I just don't have the time. Like, okay, so what do you do? Well, actually, I work 32 hours a week. I work at Safeway, and I'm, you know, like you just get a lunch break, right? Okay, so you get 3 meals start your day, 2 meals after work, and you can get 5 meals in a day, and that's all you need.
I think a lot of it comes from overthinking because of like our era before this, with the whole like 3 hours you eat, 3 hours you eat, then you do this. I feel like people have really gotten hung up on these small details. I'm like, really? I mean, when I send clients a diet, it'll be written out, you know, 5, 6 meals, whatever it is. And I'm like, you can ignore the numbers, you can move them around. All I care about is what is written on this piece of paper goes down the hatch before you go to bed, and nothing else. Other than that, I don't really care how you go about doing it. And I think people get caught up on that. Like when I ran retail, I used to just heat up my trough of food, and every time I walked by, I would scoop a bite in my mouth and then keep walking. And it was like a meal would take like an hour, but I would I wouldn't even measure them out. I'd put all of the 4 meals I ate while at work in one big trough and just make sure that before I left work, and if it was like 8:30 and it wasn't gone, I would sit there and eat it. And then I'd get in my car and drive home.
I still remember. I was just gonna say, I still remember one of my favorite quotes ever was Evan Centopani. He goes, "All you guys that are late for a meal, you know you can be early for a meal, right?" He's like, you know, you can eat 2 meals at once, right? Like you're allowed.
Yeah.
Like So when they say, "Oh, I missed a meal yesterday," it's like, well, did you eat? So you ate 5 out of 6 meals. Yeah. Well, so you ate. Yeah. So just throw that food in with another meal. Like you were already sitting and eating. Just get it in. Like, you know what I mean? They just, I ate meal 5 before bed, but I couldn't stay up long enough to eat meal 6. Just eat it anyways and go to bed. Like,
that's another thing that I've told my guys. I'm like, okay, so you missed a meal. At the end of the day, you had your 5th meal at 10 p.m. right before bed. Why didn't you just blend 100 grams of oats and 2 scoops away and fucking pound it right on top of your 5th meal?
Yeah.
You could just do that. I know it's not written in your plan, but that is better than missing. So, like, blend your fucking oats, put some peanut butter, throw some fruit in if you want it, and pound it. Yep. And I'll also say, I have no idea how many meals I've eaten while driving down the road. I mean, a lot. Cold, ice cold meals, driving down the road, just because you have to.
Yeah.
And then for this gentleman, if he's the foreman, sounds like you're the boss. Hey guys, I'm going to need you to go do this, and you go do this, and then let's walk over here. Let's take a look at this. Like, just fucking. That's me at work when I'm at the farm, and I'm like talking to my guys. I've got a meal in my hand, and I'm,
Yep.
You can, no matter the size of the meal, you can eat the shit in 15 minutes. Just do it. And like Dusty said, set it down, handle your business, walk by, take a bite, go here, go pee, eat 2 bites while you're peeing, drop it down, go back outside, come back here, hammer, do what you got to do, go back, take a bite. Fuck,
Yeah.
It's like
there's a million ways to get it done.
Yeah, and if you want to get it done, you're going to get it done.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The desire to shovel. Okay.
Oh, there's a good one for you, Justin. I want to hit. Has there been anything different this offseason compared to last one as far as across the board?
Yeah, this offseason definitely keeping me a little bit leaner and making sure we're prioritizing being hungry.
Yeah.
Just not redlining my appetite, kind of a good game of push and pull, which I think we've kind of always done. But like the biggest feedback is like, are you getting hungry for your meals? Are you getting hungry for your meals? If not, like just toggling to make sure that I'm not just redlining, because to an extent, you got to eat when you don't want to eat. It just is what it is. But we've just found that I'm more responsive and I tend to grow more when I'm actually hungry and wanting food. So,
right.
Yeah. That seems to be one of the, I guess, sort of changes that has come into bodybuilding over the last several years has been like the importance of realizing that keeping your appetite might actually be linked to growing.
Yeah,
more
I think
than
it is.
we realized, like I know I come from the era where we did a lot more just ruthless force feeding with no, mini cuts or, backing off the calories or anything like that. It was just to kind of keep everything turned, as they say on Spinal Tap, 211, for the whole off season. And then wondering, why you couldn't grow the last 3 months. You didn't really make any progress the last 3 months of your off season.
And then what happens? You start dieting, and as you start getting closer to the show, you're growing.
Yeah.
You get to that like 12-week out mark, and you're like, I haven't dropped weight in 4 weeks, and I'm just way harder every week.
Yeah. It's a crazy phenomenon, and it makes me wonder how much we still don't really understand about hypertrophy.
Yeah.
And because I know that, they got all these hypertrophy studies that are being done, on maybe they're even done on athletic people. Maybe they're even done on, college athletes or football players or whatever, but or they're done on natural bodybuilders or whatever, but they're not being done on guys like you. They're not being done on guys like Dusty at his heaviest and stuff. So it makes me wonder, like how much do things change at that upper shelf of, being jacked and humongous and, stronger than 99.9% of people could ever possibly fathom being, and then making muscle grow from that point on. And keeping the appetite seems to be something that is really making a difference because, that seems to be where the sweet spot is.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always try to encourage my guys. They tell me like, hey man, I'm hungry. And I'm like, good. You're gaining weight, you're getting stronger, and you're hungry for your food. Like these are great things. It's just telling me your body's actually using the food. It means you ate 100 grams of carbs and you used it all. And your body was ready for more. You know, to me, that's important. Now, if we're seeing like long, major holding patterns in your body weight, you're not getting stronger, then yeah, let's be progressive with food. But, you know, a lot of guys are just eager to just shove down more because it just, I think, like you said, Ron, it just used to be the thing. You just fucking hammer food.
Yeah, I just had a guy ask me the other day, said, hey, when you were really, you know, in your early days, like your first, you know, 6-7 years of training, you know, how many grams of carbs were you eating? And I just laughed. I was like, I never counted.
I have no idea.
I do remember being aware of protein intake because we knew we needed a minimum of a gram. Like we used to think 1.5 grams per pound. So I knew that my protein intake had to be approximated each day. But then the rest of the food was literally as much as I could eat. And there were no limits. Like if I already had my food and my buddies were like, we're going to Wendy's, I was like, hey, I'm coming. Like there wasn't any number in my head like, oh, I've had my carbs for the day. That just never even occurred to us. None of us.
And you know, listen, there's some body types that are going to require that type of approach. There's some skinny guys where you're like, I have to hammer you with so much food just to get you to gain 0.5 fucking pound. I don't care that you're not hungry. We just have to do this. And then there's guys like myself. Like if I just went to Wendy's with my buddy after I already ate all my meals, I'm getting fucking fat.
Yeah,
you know, well, I am. I'm getting fat.
Yeah. I mean, that was me.
Ron wasn't saying he didn't get fat. He just said,
I didn't say I never got fat. And I was in my early 20s. Those were my early 20s.
Yeah, for sure.
Get away with murder.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the only thing that's dangerous that I think of when I look at when I started, to where like you are now, Justin, and other people, that's a little tricky that I try to nudge my clients on, because I'll get this very regularly. Someone will send me a message and say, hey, why are we just watching Justin? And he was saying that he only eating if he's hungry, and you're kind of pushing my food down. I'm like, with respect, you aren't doing what he's doing. Because it's like, you know, Justin's never sent me a video and I said, you had 2 more reps. Like, that doesn't exist in his day. And Ron and I have covered this. We beat it to death on the show. But it's like, people cannot, like, you can't quantify how valuable truly training hard is to this whole thing. And I just love to drive that home, because very accurate information may not be accurate for you. It's like the reps in reserve. I'm like, I'm not actually arguing as hardcore against this as you think I am. The problem is when you think you're hitting failure, you've already got 4 reps in reserve. And now you're saying you want to pull 2 more out. And now we're 6 reps shy of what you could have done. Yeah. And that's where people are off, you know? So it's like, you might not be hungry because you're not training hard enough.
There's also this side of things where you may not have the desire to eat this particular food, and that is different than hunger. Are you not hungry? If I put 4 double cheeseburgers, are you going to eat them all? Or do you just not want to eat your 10 ounces of chicken or 8 ounces of chicken? Yeah. Because not everybody wants to eat 8 ounces of chicken breast. Yeah, I get it. Maybe you don't have the biggest appetite for 8 ounces of chicken and 300 grams of dry white rice.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. That's
if you don't eat your meat, you don't get any pudding. Right? Isn't that what we learned from Pink Floyd?
Yeah, we learned that a long time ago.
One of many things
that
I've learned from Pink Floyd.
And listen, we're also talking about where I'm at after years of doing this and progressing, and I found a formula that works for me. This isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Not everybody's going to subscribe to that and do well. And also, I'm pretty fucking honest with myself. I'm not going to eat less food because I want to eat less food and then trick myself into thinking that's what makes me grow because I just want to eat less food. I'm actually doing this because I know it's working for me. And if I knew eating 4,000 more calories and being uncomfortable and bloated and distended all the time was working, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, it's very key. Very key distinction, because I have the same thing in the other direction where I have some clients, I mean, and I don't envy either side of this. The people who like Tommy, who I had to feed so much food to grow, his prep diet was like my off season, and I had 40 pounds on him. You know what I mean? You're like, that sucks. And then I've got guys that are like insatiable, and I'm like, dude, you're just going to be hungry for your entire life, because I can't. You're getting fatter on this,
Yeah.
And I really should pull back on you right now. And you're telling me you're starving, and I'm looking at the numbers going, I don't know if I could eat that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of food.
I've got a couple of those guys.
People don't realize how wide of a spectrum metabolism is until they prep a lot of bigger bodybuilders, and stuff doesn't make any sense. Like I've got one client right now named Jack, who's a classic guy. He's a big guy. He weighs like 215 on stage, and he has had more high days in this prep and more burgers and more massive carb days than I think I had in 10 years of preps.
No kidding.
And, he'll wake up and, oh my God, I'm at a new low. And I'm like, well, let's do another high day. And then like 2 days later, we got to do another high day. And then we got to do another high day. Like, it's insane how some of these guys' metabolisms just go to this mental place that makes no mathematical sense on a spreadsheet. And then you got another guy who's 225, who's getting in really good shape, and you got him on 50 grams of carbs, and he's doing an hour cardio, and he's suffering, and he's just dying, maybe sub 2,000 calories at one point, and he's just like trying not to, drive into a ditch going home from work, and you just think this doesn't make any sense. This whole like, oh, you need this many calories per pound. The average person, it's like that stuff. That stuff is
out the window.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem when people try to spreadsheet diet, is they're following these rules, and you have to realize that there are outliers to these rules, and they make no sense, and you got to go where you might not realize you got to go. Like if you showed me my one client's diet, I would be like, this guy's never going to get in shape. He's literally been so peeled out of his mind for like 2 months now, and it's just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, what do you think, guys? That's pretty good.
Fantastic.
We had a good show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final word, Justin? Tell us what's going on. What do we got planned? What lies in the future?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people, even though I say this all the time, I'm not competing this year. So that's like a big question is like, what are you doing? What show are you doing? So taking the year off to grow.
Farming and banking. Farming and
banking. And motorboating, baby.
My man.
You earned it. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see the weed entrepreneur is living the lifestyle he deserves.
Yeah, it's a dirty job, and somebody's got to do it.
Hey, are you guys going federal soon? Do you think that's going to happen?
Man, I hope so. I mean, there's been so much discussion about it for a decade. I mean, it's like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, it makes no sense. I mean, you guys are obviously doing it with success, and
wow. Yeah,
it's just okay. Not doing much with success for the government.
So our success is that it's legal, but of course our government bungled the entire handling of the ridiculous nonsense that they're doing with all the regulation and stuff. Like a lot of people still just buy illegal weed because it's like they don't even want to put up with the stores and the crap, and it's just a joke. Yeah.
It seems like there will always be a market for.
Yep.
Was that me?
I don't know.
Getting some weird feedback. But yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'd love to be able to be nationwide and not be stuck in my little state. I also like, there's like, even just with these, different companies that are sponsoring bodybuilders. Like I'd love to send my friends in Texas some weed. Here, rep my brand. Send Hunter Labrada some weed and fucking promote it and promote my brand, and we can grow together. But it's like I can't do that.
Get a forward shirt on him. Get him a forward shirt. Yeah.
I mean, these are like the normal things that industries are able to do, and I just can't do any of it.
Yeah. That's brutal.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
We appreciate having you hang out with us. It was a lot of fun. You're welcome on the show anytime, dude. And
I love it, man. I always have a good time with you guys.
Yeah. Backdrop and everything. How great you look.
So professional.
I know. Look at that. See how the arms look.
There we go.
Big already.
Okay. Okay. And it's good to have Dusty back from his Dominican vacation. I'm glad that you were the most jacked dad at the pool. I would have been shocked if you weren't the most jacked dad at the pool. Yeah. That would have been a little bit mind blowing. And imagine how disappointed Dusty would have been. he would
I
have
don't know
not
if I'd have been
posted
disappointed or
anything.
happy though. I'd have probably been like, dude,
What the?
this is
Yeah.
impressive.
You know, he just
Next
happens to
stop.
be there.
Next stop is Italy for Dusty, huh?
Yeah, that's going to be. I do have to say this though, because you know, you don't know this, Justin, but we had a question years ago where someone asked, if you can do bench 225 for 10 reps, does that make you like very strong? And I immediately was like, no, that's ridiculous. Everyone does that. And Ron's like, are you an idiot?
I had to remind him.
No one does that. Like,
Yeah.
so
I had to remind him it's like a decimal point of the population that can bench 225.
to me, I'm like,
sure.
everyone I know benches 225 for reps. That's no big deal.
All
But,
my friends can do that for 20.
Yeah.
But I go to the I go to the pool and I realize sitting back, I'm like, even as I've skewed back, like just from training and going to gyms and going to expos and going to hockey games, my understanding of normal is so far off still. Even when I remove bodybuilders and then I start to remove like my friends that play football, and then you look and you're like, holy shit, no wonder people look at us weird.
Yeah.
No shit.
Normal is a lot further away than I thought it was. Like basically anyone in my gym, I mean, Ron's gym, everyone would have stood out there. Every single member would have been blowing people's
Wow, you're
minds. So
fit.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were keeping track. I'm like, and it was funny. I actually saw a guy. You guys will love this. I see this guy and I tell Nikki, I go, that guy definitely trains. I'm like, I wouldn't even be shocked if he used to compete. He's a pretty big guy. He's got some body fat on, but you know, I was like, he's living life, whatever. 10 minutes later, he comes over. You're Dusty Hanshaw. I'm like, fucking knew it. And yeah, he's like, I used to compete. I ran LA Fitnesses. I was like, okay, I was right. But there were
That's
like
hilarious.
4 of those in the entire place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, we really are weird.
Yeah.
It's better numbers than Italy. I didn't run into a single person that was like above 200 pounds.
No kidding.
Yeah, and that Italy is made for fucking small people. I was like a bull in a china shop. Everywhere I went, I'm tucking my shoulders in.
Yeah. Tiny hotel rooms, tiny elevators, tiny cars.
Oh, the
elevators
elevators.
kill me.
Yeah. I get an elevator that I'm barely fitting in by myself, and it says that 6 people can fit in here.
So I got to see a picture on the Vespa because I can't fathom
I'll
that.
find it. And I'll send
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I thought of you, Dusty. I thought of you and your skewed view of people the other day because I had to go for a blood test, and I had to go to the hospital to get this one. I couldn't go to my normal Life Labs by my house, so I had to drive to the hospital and go to their lab to do it. So I walk in, and because it's not a Life Labs, it's a hospital. It was just a different crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was pretty packed. It was busy. Every single, not one wasn't, every single person in that waiting room, and we're talking like 40 people, were quite fat. And also, they all appeared to have a hard time walking. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So they seemed like
I would have fit right in.
just like it was horrible. And I just was sitting there thinking, is this the general population?
Let's see.
It is.
And I was just had a t-shirt on, so everyone's just staring at me. And when they call my name, I just get up and walk across the floor without limping.
Like a ninja.
Like a ninja. And I was just completely in awe of the condition of everybody in that waiting room. They were a complete
shame.
mess. And I just was like, oh man, this is where and you know, of course, our healthcare system's just a disaster because it wouldn't be bad. This free healthcare system we have wouldn't be bad if everyone took care of themselves.
Right.
There'd be enough money to pay for everyone's medical. But apparently, it's a free-for-all. And no one's taking care of themselves at all. And now we wonder why everything is, you know, in big trouble and we can't afford it. And it's because apparently nobody. And I was sitting kind of close to the front desk.
I was
hearing.
You didn't even have to trigger him this time, Dusty.
Oh my God! Here's the best part. I'm
Almost
hearing these
failed.
conversations, and this is what blew my mind. Guys are coming up to the front. And they're like, I have an appointment. And they're like, okay, are you on any medication? He's like, yes. What do you take? I take a pill for my heart. Do you know what it is? No.
Oh, it's red. It's a red pill.
It's a red pill.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God. People don't even know. They don't even care. Like if a doctor put me on a pill for my heart, I'd be Googling.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'd be
What
very
is this
aware of
pill?
what I'm taking.
But apparently no one cares. They don't care.
Nope. Thanks, Doc.
And I just thought, oh my God, next person comes up. I take a blood pressure pill. Well, which one do you take? I don't know.
It's blue.
Blue. I'm like, oh, fuck. And it was just, it was a bit of a wake up call. So
My buddy told me he goes, if you really want to know, because I was so blown away. He's like, if you really want to know what the world is, here's your field trip. Go to the DMV. We all have to go there.
Oh yeah.
He's like, just hang out there for an hour and you'll understand really what the world is. And I was like, I'm never going to the DMV. I don't want to know. I want to stay in my little bubble at the gym where everyone cares about their health and doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
I'm on a pill for my heart. No idea why.
Oh, shout out to listener. Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Riding dirty.
Yeah, you actually it's working for you. There's hope that I could have. If you can do that, I can definitely ride a Vespa.
I think you pull it off.
No problem.
Yeah.
No, I'm disappointed I didn't see like a reel where you're riding the Vespas.
Oh, you did. You just didn't. You just don't pay attention to my stuff, Ron.
Exactly. Probably would have saw it.
I must not show up in your algorithms.
Okay. Well, you should repost that reel.
It's right here.
Oh,
I did see this one.
There it is.
Look at
look
that.
at this. Oh,
Greatness.
there we go.
He was ready. He was ready for this retort of yours.
Oh, you know what? This is looking familiar. I might have seen this. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't try to crawl
Yeah.
back
Nice recovery.
now, buddy.
I saw some Switzerland. I saw some Switzerland stuff. I saw a bunch of Switzerland stuff. I know I saw that. That was good shit.
Well,
Okay.
I'll tag you. I'll tag you in that one too.
Yeah, make sure you tag me. Very
that's
important.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
All right,
well,
guys.
Thanks, man. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
Ring the bell.
remember, IamMutant.com. Get your ISO surge, get your all, and get your mind fuck, and everyone should get on the gear. Dusty20, Big Ron 20. Remember, use your code. And Scott,
I want to say shout out at the pharmacy. I ran into one of our listeners who was working at the pharmacy, one of the pharmacists. He yelled at me across the room. I tried. I looked in the bag. There was no free test, but I don't want to mention his name. Yeah, I don't want to mention his name for his sake.
Wow, he does
he's
what
a
he
working
can.
professional. But I'll check the bag next time. But seriously, I was at the pharmacy and they ask you your name, and then I see this guy look up. He's like, "There's 10 people back there." He's like, "Scott McNally?" He's like, "I listen to the podcast." I was like, "No kidding." So it's always fun. You go to an expo, you expect to run into people, right? Sometimes you go to the gym, you expect to run into people to an extent, but like at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, that absolutely makes my day. So you know who you are. Shout out to you, and thank you for listening.
You bet. Or the
I've run into
the
people at
Dominican.
pharmacies before, just not that worked there. Anyways,
Yeah, I thought of that because of your story, Dusty, at the pool. That's mind blowing. You went all the way around the world, and there was a listener.
Okay, and remember to Think Big Patreon. Keep a producer home.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yes.
For the price of a cup of coffee.
Get some early releases.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Justin Shire. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
of course, man.
Good luck with your buds. May they
thanks,
be
bud. And your
sugary, fat and sugary and juicy.
Plentiful, and may the price skyrocket with the new administration.
Yes. $5,000 a pound.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's go. Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
everybody.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man. Okay, and remember, it's just bodybuilding.
That's all there is.
And also too, quad sweep's one of those things. It's like a thicker back. Like you can almost how many bodybuilders in history have had too much quad sweep? Ramy?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Like
Yeah.
Dennis Wolf could have still had more quad sweep.
And it wouldn't have hurt him.
Tom Platz was the only human being that ever was said to have too much. You got too much legs. You're bottom heavy. You know,
like so having like I could have used more quad sweep. That's like saying I could have used a thicker back or bigger.
Yes, but same thing with what you said too, though. Like more shoulders. Who? I mean, other than Jay and maybe Marcus Rule, who would you say I couldn't have used a little more delt?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Lee Priest. Lee Priest's arms were literally too big for his body, and no one ever said his arms were too big.
No, and if they would have grown like another half inch or an inch, people would have been still wowed, even that much more. You know?
Oh God, yeah, that's hysterical. Oh,
okay.
This.
Do you guys have? Oh, here's Justin now. Do you guys have anything you wanted to run in through the show? There we go. Let's add it in here.
You had a bunch of good questions. You had sheets of them.
Yes, we do.
What's up,
man?
What's happening?
What's up? Justin Shire, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. How are you guys?
I guess last time I talked to you is when you and I and the wives all had lunch in the airport.
Yeah. We all had a flight delayed heading to the Arnold.
Yeah,
Airport dates.
Was that heading to or from the Arnold? I can't remember. To the Arnold, right?
I was heading to. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Don't ever fly the same flight as Ron. He seems to get delayed a lot.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I haven't been to the airport and had it not be a complete shit show in years.
I'm just reminded at the airport that I hate everyone every single time. I just sit there and I look at all the people I hate. I'm like, I hate all of you. Nice mask, fuckface.
Yeah, it's really bad now. I realize when I see a mask now, I'm like, oh wow.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
There was a little bit of a trail after it was over where I'd see a mask and I'd be like, okay, you're still afraid, and maybe you live with your old grandpa.
You don't watch a lot of TV.
You don't watch a lot of TV, and you're just a little bit like you haven't traveled for like 2 years, so you're just like a little bit. But now at the point, I'm like, I know a lot about you just from that.
Yeah, you're
like people in the airport shitting their pants or something. That doesn't happen.
No, that's it. It's just wives' tales. It never happens.
Somebody
literally got it. Yeah, Scott literally got that question. I want to hear this airport shit story again.
Again.
I can't
hear
Go back and watch the episode again. We have it on air.
More pooping.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're like one of those. You're like one of those kind of like when you hit that certain level of comic where you can come out and do old jokes and people are still. It's like you know, like I'm
the machine. I'm telling the fucking machine story.
You're like Bert telling the machine story. Yeah. You know, it's like Seinfeld. You know, we went and saw Seinfeld, and he did all new material. But then at the last 20 minutes, a few people are yelling out like, "Do the blah blah blah!" Like they want to hear the hits. It's like they're at a Rolling Stones concert and they want to hear "Give Me Shelter."
Yeah,
everybody wants to hear the humiliating story of me shitting my pants in the airport.
Yeah. Okay,
hey, it's good that you're going to leave your mark on the sport.
It's Justin. It's about making contributions, is what it really comes down to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all want to be known for something at the end of this. And
exactly.
I've got my
You'll never be forgotten.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we're recording this because this is important.
It's all good.
Okay. I'll start the show.